What is happening, everybody? Welcome to our third ever Dev Q&A with us, Powwow Entertainment. My name is Nate, but you've met me before. What's more important is my colleague joining us today is Martin, our audio director. How you going, Martin?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm fine.
Good. Yes,
Oh,
I'm
that's
very well, thank you.
I
Don't
flipped
panic.
it around.
It's all under control. We're okay. So, so many questions. Just before we started doing this recording, I was saying to Martin how I'm really excited for this one because I actually personally think sound and audio is one of the unsung heroes when it comes to video games. I know for me personally, there's been the odd video game that hasn't quite hit because of the audio in the game. So, I'm very excited um, for this conversation. Really. So, thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. How are you finding working on Stuntfest?
It's a blast. It's so different from what I've done previously. So
Hmm.
it's like I worked for companies that have multiple hundreds of people. So you get to work on such a wider variety of sounds. I mean, I have to take care of, and my colleagues, like we have one intern now and
Hmm.
one technical sound design. We basically have to take care of every aspect of the sound in the game, which is like a fairly broad topic. So we have like not just the sound effects, we have the music,
Hmm.
we have like that's quite interesting because like we have like these speakers in the level, so we have like the implementation of the music and how you perceive it. That's also like a huge thing to work on and to tweak. It's like I can spend hours with that, unfortunately. But so we have commentary, the cars, of course, and everything needs to be on a great level so you can like enjoy it.
Yeah, and when you said that you've worked in previous companies, is this were they previous gaming franchises, or is this your first foray into video games?
No, it's definitely like I'm in gaming. I'm working on sound in gaming like for
Mhm.
over 13 years now. So
Wow,
um, yeah, so I worked for Rebellion, Crytek, and Dice previously.
cool. Yeah, yeah, all names that I know very fondly. So it's cool that you've got quite a few years in it. Is it weird going from like these big projects to Stuntfest where you are saying like you're working with two other people?
It is definitely a adjustment period.
Mhm.
Like just previously, I worked on games that had a very defined soundscape, or you knew what you were producing for, and then now suddenly we have a game where we actually okay, we have to make it up ourselves, which is
Yeah.
like cool, but also scary.
But I suppose it presents its own set of unique challenges.
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, we had to figure out uh, like some sort of like who do we contact for like to get actors cast and recorded, and what should we do about music? It's like, can we really afford a composer? It's like probably not. Can we license some music? It's like these kind of things, and then it's like, okay, what the game should sound like. Um, what what are our inspirations for this game
Mhm.
and our references? And I think Stunfest is kind of unique in that sense. So it wasn't that easy. It's like I fondly remember a meeting we had where it's just like, okay, we try to find some kind of source sounds for our UI.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, we had this word cloud of, okay, this game is supposed to be like a pop-up thing. Um, it's very self-made and extravagant in a way.
Yep.
So but like coming from a DIY-ish environment, but so we tried to come up with like sounds that could represent that in some way. So we're coming like, okay, synthesizers maybe some guitars there, but then there's also like, what if we have like, okay, we have with vehicles, so maybe some liquidy, rubbery sounds that we could try. And so we just like tried to assemble a bunch of like samples that we then just like see what could work.
That's cool. So it sounds
Yeah.
like there's been quite a lot of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but quite a lot of freedom when it comes to the sounds and the fact that you're able to go out and find sounds that you think might work and try one after the other and squish them all together and combine the sounds. Is that sort of freedom that you found in other areas prior to Stuntfest, or is it unique to this IP?
I think it's very unique to this IP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I mean, yeah.
So before you say you've been in the games industry, sorry, you said for 13 years, is that right?
Yes.
So how did you get into doing audio design and audio production?
So I back then I started like all of my coworkers in the audit department. I studied at the University for Applied Sciences in Salzburg, which is like a multimedia course.
Yep.
But there you can, within that multimedia spectrum, you can specialize into animation or audio,
Mhm.
video stuff, like this kind of thing. And from there, I then got really you have to have a mandatory internship. So you need to find some place that where you can do hands-on work.
Okay.
And there I was lucky, like I sent out so many applications back then. I was lucky to get a place at Rebellion, and I worked on Rogue Trooper. I'm
Yep,
not
I
sure
know
if
Rogue
you've.
Trooper. Yeah.
Okay. So, which was a really fun experience because like it's a game based on comics, and then they also next door they had all the 2000 AD comics
Oh, that's crazy.
people like with like a lot of stock like Judge Bad and stuff. So sometimes I would just take stuff home at
How
in the
could you
evening and
not?
just like, yeah, of course.
Like, you've got all that stuff next to you. Yeah, Rogue Trooper is a game I haven't heard of in a long time, not since like PlayStation 2 era. So yeah, it's been a while since I heard of Rogue Trooper, but that's crazy. So and then you just went from there and it was a case of studying and then as you say, you had your internship and then just moving from company to company and building your skill set,
Ish.
I'm guessing.
It's like right after, because then I had to go back to university, finish the degree there, and then I couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
So I continued studying uh, at the university in Vienna to have like a computer science
Mhm.
to attend a computer science course, which I didn't finish, which were probably for the best. But because I with a friend flew to GDC in 2009
Mhm.
and there met a bunch of Crytek people. So, and I was just then like, yeah, the coming summer, I was like, do you need someone? Do you want someone
Yeah.
I do whatever kind of thing. And then they were just like, yeah, we actually need someone for a year. So it's like I did an internship for a year almost. And this time it was paid actually, which was also nice. And yeah, and from that developed like employment, and then after a few years or so, I like in a few games shipped there, I saw this opportunity to apply to a job in at Dice in Sweden.
Mhm.
I took that opportunity and got it luckily.
That's cool. I mean, as I say, those are some pretty big gems to have in your crown in terms of names to work for. Crytek and Dice are big recognizable names. So that's awesome. And it's crazy that it echoes very much like myself, where it's like, right, I can't find employment in the games industry in areas that I want to work, and I literally have to go up to somebody and be like, "Have you got any jobs going, either at a conference or something like that?" And I think it really echoes the in some respects, it's not what you know, but who you know. If you can get your business card or your email into the right hands, it can
Mm.
definitely make a big difference when it comes to getting a job in certain careers and stuff. So it's awesome to sort of reinforce that. And you said that you went to start computer science. So have you? Is it always been music and audio design that you've been interested in, or just the games and computers in general?
Yeah, I think a bit of weird how I got into that because I went to university, like I was very interested in electronic music and stuff,
Mhm.
but I always figured I never had too much higher opinion of my own
Yeah,
tracks,
know that
so I
feeling.
was like, hmm. But also, I always I figured like I tend to be way more into like trying to make the sounds right instead of making a track right, which
Mhm.
is I was figuring like, well, I like this part, so and I like video games, and I see a really good way to combine this. So I just went for it then.
That's awesome. So, do you, when it comes to video games, do you prefer doing the sound effects more so than the soundtrack, as it were?
Well, okay, yes, yes, that for sure. I mean, we don't have any in-house composing. Like I don't compose music.
Yeah,
I mean, all that stuff back there, that's basically just me.
having fun.
Fine, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's
I think that's one of the things that's really easy to forget when it comes to music is it's not just somebody sat in front of Cubase or with a MIDI keyboard or something like that. You've got to have composers and then you've got to have the actual musicians putting stuff together and all these working parts just to one aspect which then plugs into the rest of the video game and it's crazy that when you start breaking stuff down you get moving parts upon moving parts upon moving parts and all these things eventually come together to then put out a video game, which is sometimes just mind blowing when you look at big picture style. Um, so if there's any out of all the sound effects that you've worked on in Stuntfest, then is there one sound effect that you're especially proud of?
that's tricky because I want to tweak all of them. Honestly, it's like right now I'm at that stage where it's like that could sound nicer, that could sound nicer. It's like it's a really where I'm like just want to sit down and tweak things. But I mean that the Nitro Boost is kind of like a group project.
Yeah,
It's like me and a colleague, and it's quite it
I do like the
works
Nitro
really
Boost.
well.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
it just pull, has this pull and like
Well, it's
the ignition and everything works really well.
yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier, where it's like there are certain sounds that really help the game feel engaging. In an FPS, it might be like the way the guns sound, and in Stuntfest, it's definitely the nitro and the ejection. Those two sounds I find to be specifically on point because
Okay, cool.
it properly makes you feel like you're I don't know. It just it's I do find that the audio helps ground you into the game more, if that makes sense. And those two
Yeah.
sounds are specifically ones that I can recall that make me feel more grounded into the game.
Mhm.
So, did you
Uh,
find like sorry, go on.
oh well, I just want to say that like the collisions, I kind of like them as well, and I hope that people will find all the Easter eggs we put in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say Easter eggs, what in the sounds themselves?
Well, sometimes there might be something playing.
I think I
See?
think I did. I might have heard a clown horn at some point. I think. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So when it comes to the hurdles that you're having to come across when it comes to sound design, is there anything that you found within this project that you've got significantly stuck on or had to think of some unusual way to overcome it?
Well, okay, so let's start with the beginning. It's like, okay, we like I joined this project, and so I think we had like some power on didn't have a sound department before, so it's
Okay.
like just building that, like building that understanding around it. And then also, like I came from a company that only had proprietary tech, so going out there and like seeing, okay, what is out there, what can we do with it,
Yeah.
and like I mean, I also have to say like huge thanks to Manuel, our technical sound designer. He is just like such a big help with that because like figuring all this stuff out by myself would have been a nightmare. But like in terms of sound design, like I
It's
mean,
one thing
right
that
now it's a bit the balance to get everything right in like so it's everything sound like gets their own space and
yeah.
then still sounds powerful. That's maybe the
I
big
can I
challenge
can
right now.
definitely see that. Yeah, you don't want anything too overpowering, but at the same time, certain sounds do have to be kind
Yeah.
of overpowering, if you know what I mean. And it all has to work rather than just be a mesh of noise. It has to be its own segregated sounds that work together. So I wouldn't even know where to begin in these sort of things. It's like as we were speaking to our program in the last one, and a lot of the stuff when it comes up, it's just like how so many people have taken what they've started with, like yourself, who came into Stompfest without a sound department, and then have managed to create what we have now is crazy and mind blowing. In my short time that I've been with Powwow, which is I think coming up to 4 months now, the game itself has already transformed from what I first got my hands onto to what I'm testing now is night and day, and it really shows how much people are putting in uh, amount of time, and it's great as well hearing um, that the people that you're working with, you're all working together as a team rather than one person working on this, another person just working on this. It's one of the things that's echoed by everybody I'm speaking to so far about how much the team helps each other out in certain areas. So
Mm.
that's really really cool. Do you find that you take your work home with you quite a bit?
Well, this is
Well,
my
I
home
mean,
right
you
now.
are at
So,
home,
yes.
yeah.
But yes, yes. I mean, luckily, I can close this room, so I can take my distance. But
Yeah,
it's still like um, there is the occasional overtime.
yeah.
Yes, but I always think like I want to be like I want to put the extra hours into things that are like okay, I want to tweak this, I want to get take this, make this better.
Mhm.
So it comes from a intrinsic motivation.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think
So,
that's not less.
but
Sorry.
would you be uh, in your own time, as you said, all the stuff behind you is for fun anyway. So I imagine in your own time you'd be making sounds and music anyway. So the two things start to collide after a while.
Yeah, well, there's differences, of course. I this the fun thing with this is like it doesn't need to serve a purpose.
Mm.
So but of course, yes, there's like overlap.
So
It's always fun when you encounter something on the synthesizer that's like, oh, I could use this
that's yeah,
here,
that
and it
is
was
cool.
fit perfectly.
So I'm going to show my complete uneducation when it comes to this. But over your left shoulder, what is that? This thing like here, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, this is a modular synthesizer,
Hmm.
and so modular meaning that you can buy individual modules and
Yeah.
then you can just with cables like this you can hook them together.
Hmm.
So how the signal flows and how stuff interacts with each other, you can define it yourself. And
That's
in a way,
cool.
it's also how also again game design works a bit. Like
Yeah.
we have this. Unreal has this visual patching environment called Blueprint.
Hmm.
So and there we take parameters and say, okay, we take the parameter from the car that tells us how many RPMs the engine is doing right now,
Yeah.
and then feed it to the sound that then can transform make sure that it plays at the right position. So it's like there's a lot of overlap here,
Yeah. Okay.
obviously.
Cool. So do you find yourself just taken from that? Do you find yourself working in the engine quite a lot as well, or do you make the sounds and then hand them to somebody who puts them in the engine?
I try to not lose the touch with the engine, but like
Hmm.
be in my role, it's like I'm also a bit of the organizer. So a lot of that stuff falls onto Manuel. Like
Yeah.
he builds a big system, and like there are a lot of big systems. Like how we analyze the environment around us. Like we need to know how tight the environment is, for example, to see whether we're in a room or not. That's his creation, and so a lot of there's a lot of that's like we do in the patching side, and then there's also a lot of code side. But that some of that he can do, he taught himself. But then we also need help from like vehicle coders or
Yeah.
character coders and these kind of
That's
people.
cool. That's cool. So, do you find that you're, as you just said, you're organizing a lot more than anything else? Do you enjoy that aspect of your role where you're both organizing everything and making the sound, or is it a necessary evil? Do you find?
Uh, I enjoy it to some extent. It's just like when you know like I need to make this sound like we have a deadline tomorrow, but I'm
Yeah.
now sitting in this meeting. But also, so it's like to be honest, like uh, working from home helps there in a way
Mhm.
because like you turn the camera off, you half listen to the meeting, and you actually making a sound on the side. So,
Giving away a few secrets
but
there, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Like, don't tell anyone.
No, no, no one will know. No one will have a clue. It's fine. So, one big question I've asked everybody I've spoken to so far: if there is anything that you could add to Stuntfest right now, what would it be?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, of course.
So, what, like a dinosaur car, or maybe like an environmental hazard?
Uh, Definitely environmental hazard.
So far, we've had like an array of things from horses to hovercrafts, and now dinosaurs. It goes to show just how diverse a lot of the people working on this is.
Oh, although like a mountable dinosaur,
A mountable
I
dinosaur, yeah, I could see that.
yes,
A triceratops on wheels, why not?
yeah,
It could work. I could see it,
yeah,
maybe.
and give it an attack or something
But
like so you can claw onto the other cars or something.
where would the nitro come from though?
The food you eat.
Ah, right, I see, I see.
Mm.
um, So I got to be honest with you. I think I am out of questions today in terms of our chat about music and sound. Oh, I do have one last question. When it comes to sourcing the music and finding, you said that you had to obviously go out to find music rather than make it yourself. Do you ever find yourself like literally digging and digging and digging through track after track after track, and then you'll find one and you'll be like, yeah, it's great. Then you'll sleep on it and you'll come back and you'll be like, nah. Like, how does the process of actually getting a song track that fits work? Like, how does that go?
So we mainly work with one licensing company. I'm not sure what the proper term there is
Mhm.
there, but so it's like online, and they have like tons of tracks,
Yep.
and you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince
Yeah, makes sense.
in that sense. And then it's like often like okay, it's one or two tracks in a whole album. So that dude, if you're lucky, it's two tracks. But then there's occasional few albums where it's like it's banger after banger after banger. So it's
Yeah.
like yes, that's and yeah, I'm really happy when that this for this moment.
Do you ever kind of want to have like free reign at some point though to make a soundtrack like the Doom soundtrack and stuff like that, where you can just go like whole ham into it?
Which one, Dune or Doom?
Doom.
Doom, yeah. Yes, that would be great. I mean, like I would enjoy like working with a composer, like
Mm.
maybe as like also bringing them in, like showing them the game and like just developing something like that could fit the game and some kind of musical language for it. That
That's
would
cool.
be very cool to
It's
do.
one of those. If we had the money and the resources, hell yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I know that
Yeah.
feeling. If money was infinite, the things that we do would be crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. I think the one last question I've got is
Mhm.
obviously there's a lot of people wanting to get into the games industry now from a lot of different schools. Is there any recommendation that you have for anybody who wants to follow in your footsteps in terms of like audio design, etc., that you'd recommend? Like any starting points you'd recommend?
Well, what from people I've worked with, like seen like what helps, it's like to work to actually implement stunts
Mhm.
to show a technical understanding,
Yep.
like whether that's Unreal or some other audio tools out there that where you can show like I understand how logic works, how that's a huge help because it's not to be underestimated. It's like there are middleware tools that are like yes,
Mhm.
you can do a lot of things, but like don't underestimate the part that's like you have to put the sound in the game and you need to
Yeah.
trigger it somehow,
So
and
like having a degree or anything like that is great, but having the technical knowledge and being able to display that you've got that technical knowledge is definitely the thing that might put you a head and shoulders above other people, as it were.
you need both definitely. It's
Yeah.
like you have to need to have the creative skill, the showing that you understand how sounds work together, like it's
Mhm.
a balanced soundscape. Like that's always good to have like a video or something that you just show like you a resounding a
Yeah.
sound sound design video for something stuff
Yeah.
like that, but also show that you have a technical understanding because it's I think it's more and more important. And I think the companies that that split those roles are maybe, especially if you're starting out as a smaller company, you need to do everything basically.
Yeah.
So um, it's not that easy to get to that point where it's then you can just do sound design and be the creative person.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the more and more that I'm learning from the different schools within Powwow, a lot of the time it's, oh well, I already had this understanding and I could show that I could do what I need for my role, but then also be able to apply it into the game, etc., just off my own back before I've even been in the company. And I think that's showing that you've got that wherewithal to go that extra mile before you've even
Mhm.
got a position is I think such a key aspect these days. Cool. Well, from then on, thank you very much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything that you'd like to say to anybody watching or listening right now?
Um, Stay cool. I don't know. Stay frosty. I don't know.
That
Whatever.
works. That works. I like it. Stay cool always works. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you very much for joining me today. I've absolutely enjoyed our chat. I would very much like to have another conversation with you again and maybe get everyone together for a big conversation. We talk all about how we made Stuntfest possible. So, yes, thank you so much for being here. And everybody who's been watching at home, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.